Hey Mike, what's the latest on the DNA study?
You mean what's the latest? What's the latest controversy in the Bigfoot world? Oh, the results of the DNA study that we've all been waiting for all these years. Yeah, well, of course, in case you don't know, Igor Bortsev, who had been involved in the DNA study and had corresponded with and been connected with Melba Ketchum, he's been trying to drum up some business over in Russia and get more people there taking him seriously and getting his research taken seriously. Just like we with the museum have to do. We're always trying to get people to recognize what we're trying to do here and recognize that Bigfoot is a viable subject and that, needs to be proven. So Bortsev made an announcement of his own. I guess the Russians wanted to beat us to the punch, just like back in the Sputnik days. And he announced that Bigfoot was a hybrid. So then the buzz was up, and apparently Melba Ketchum then decided, well, now that Bortsev has let the cat out of the bag, I got to recapture my thunder. And so she posted online that, yes, indeed, they had completed their testing, and 5-year testing with 3 independent labs corroborating the results proved that Bigfoot essentially is a hybrid cross between Homo sapiens and some caveman heretofore unknown. So let me explain exactly what that means. Our ancestors, Homo sapien ancestors, we go back almost 200,000 years, the species Homo sapiens. During those 200 years, we coexisted with a number of different homins similar to ourselves, which I'll refer to as our kissing cousins, if you get my drift. These were identified as separate species from us, although really closely matched. And these separate species were actually crossbreeding with our ancestors. Now, I think that more than likely, the majority of those matches was a caveman male and a Homo sapiens female, because the whole caveman side of the DNA, at least exhibited by the phenotype being what the Bigfoot looks like. Phenotype is what the animal looks like. Genotype is its chemical makeup. Very little change in genotype can result in a humongous change in the phenotype. Witness chimpanzees. Chimpanzees are considered to be 1.2% away from humans in the genotype. Only about 36 base pairs that are different. On the other hand, the look of a chimpanzee compared to a human is still, dramatically different. You certainly aren't going to mistake one from the other if you've got 2 of them side by side. So phenotype can be greatly different, with genotype being only slightly different. And what I think is going on is, over the years, these different species that we've named may have just been variations, phenotypical variations on the theme. And possibly these kissing cousins shouldn't really have been considered totally separate species. But that was a misconception in paleontology. And, it's not surprising, because we tend to think that humans are so much different than everything else that we give them different labels. In dogs, we call it a breed, and humans, we say it's a race. But these days, even the concept of race is going out the window, because we know that, genetically speaking, we all came pretty much from the same person, the mitochondrial Eve, as they call her, the woman who gave birth to most of the people on the planet today. Her DNA strain went on and passed through the women's placentas all around the world, and then eventually, became us, the modern version. But the tracing of the mitochondrial DNA has proven that most of us sprang from this one individual, which they call the mitochondrial Eve. So the idea of Bigfoot being a crossbreed, a half-breed between a human and a caveman, is absolutely plausible. And as a matter of fact, I predicted this a couple of years ago as one possible scenario for explaining what a Bigfoot is. Now, I have never put my hypotheses totally in that ballpark, because I still don't think that all Bigfoot sightings around the world are the result of one species, one animal, one type of animal. I think that there are apes in parts of the world that are still unknown, that are mystery primates, and I have always thought that there were also homins, people like ourselves, that were living a sort of a caveman existence, a Stone Age existence right up to the present day. And I also figured that there might be a few relic hominids still here. Maybe there's some Neanderthals, pure-blooded ones, still hiding out in some of the mountains in Siberia and so forth. So I've always suggested there's about 4 or 5 different ways that a Bigfoot can exist globally without being the same species of animal. So that being said, the hybrid possibility is a very strong one. It's the one that I have kind of tended towards recently, in spite of a lot of my peers who think otherwise, including Dr. Meldrum. David Paulides' work, of course, came out suggesting that these things were humans. Well, I'm still not saying that. I'm saying that they are, because they are capable of breeding with humans and having offspring, that yes, some of these over successive generations of breeding with additional humans, eventually that Bigfoot part, that caveman part, is going to virtually disappear. They're just going to end up being part of the gene pool, because there's a hell of a lot more Homo sapiens on the planet than there are these Bigfoot creatures, or the relic hominids that spawned them. But I believe that 40,000 years ago, there were many, many different kinds of homins, kissing cousins, that were mating with our ancestors, and that the Bigfoot is just one haplogroup that remains as a result of that crossbreeding. And we may find that there are other separate haplogroups that are slightly different, and yet they tend to look similar outside the phenotype. What's bothering me about the latest news from Melba Ketchum and Igor Bortsev is the way the Bigfoot community is reacting to it. My God, why do we always have to be controversial? Why do we always have to polarize? Why can't we have different opinions without, being ugly about it? Now, I understand people have been anxious. This project now has gone on 5 years, but if what Melba says is true, and she's had 3 different labs independently back all this up, which would be the proper way to do this, it could easily take that many years. And so, for people to be already predicting she's crazy, and even if Melba has also brought other things into the picture, where she's let her guard down and talked about it, maybe even mentioned religious things in the context or whatever, so what? Everybody has a right to their own thing. There are scientists who also have religion, but usually we try to keep those separate. But we don't have to castigate people because they accidentally go there. Live and let live. Let's allow for all sorts of different possibilities, because I think there's very few people who really know all the answers to this mystery. I would guess there's probably none, because once again, I think there's different kinds of Bigfoot, if you will, that are seen on this planet, and they're different. And so it's going to turn out, we don't have, even in this Ketchum project, even they had 100 and some samples, from what I understand, maybe more. They vetted it down to about 30. And they concentrated on those, and that's the way you would have to do it. But they can't possibly have samples from all over the world. They don't have orang-pendek samples. I doubt that they had Yeti samples. I think they had primarily North American Sasquatch samples. those are probably going to turn out to be pretty similar. But I think the orang pendek is going to be something different. And I think that the Yeti is likely to be more of an ape and not as much of a caveman as the Sasquatch is. You know, that's a personal opinion. Based on, well, let's see, based on, starting with a sighting that I had as a child, 50-some years of normal research, and 7 years of dedicated full-time research. When I get up in the morning, I'm on to Bigfoot. When I go to bed at night, I'm still talking and thinking about Bigfoot. All through the day, I'm in this museum right here, and people come in here, and they look at our exhibits, and then they ask questions, which I encourage them to do, about Bigfoot. And then I talk to them, and I give them the answers as I see it from my experience in doing the subject. Now, book learning is fine, but 7 years ago when we opened up, people started coming in from the local area and saying they've got them in their backyards. That shocked me. I didn't know they were still here in Santa Cruz. Gotta go again.